Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to take a look at the Boker Plus Pocket Smatchet. And so this knife right here is new from Boker for 2021, and it is a really classic design that is based on the World War II dagger called the Smatchet. And so those were traditionally fixed blades that were very useful during wartime for both the wide blade, which could be used for stabbing, as well as chopping tasks similar to a hatchet. So of course comes the name Smatchet. But what we have right here from Boker Plus, this is a miniaturization of the design. So this design was adapted by the custom maker Chuck Gedraitis. Sorry about pronouncing that name. It's probably wrong, but that's what I got there. And so he designed this classic design to become pocketable. So what we have from Boker Plus is a pretty beefy big blade with the micarta handle, also available in wood. And as far as I can tell, this knife is exclusive to BladeHQ, and that is where I picked it up about a week ago. And so I just want to give you my first impressions and talk about some comparisons with some other knives. But as for the Pocket Smatchet right here, what we have right here on the front side of the blade, we can see the Boker Plus logo, as well as a serial number. So mine is number 131. This has a fuller right through the center of the blade, so very classic dagger style there. And the reverse of the blade has the blade steel listed, so this is a VG10 blade, and as well as the custom maker's, the designer's signature. So I, again, can't pronounce it right, but I think Gedraitis. But really nice. It almost looks like a double-edged design, and of course when this was a fixed blade it usually would be a double-edged design, but being that this is a pocket knife and a folder, this is of course a non-sharpened edge, just for safety reasons of course. But we have a nice beefy micarta handle. I love micarta, and the natural micarta here is very nice to look at. Has a nice texture to it, feels really good in hand, as well as the blade guards coming up out here. Makes it feel very solid in your hand. But this is a big beefy folder. It's fairly heavy weight as well. So let me give you the weight of this knife. So BladeHQ lists it at about 7.22 ounces. So let's see how accurate that is. So let's take a look. And we are coming in a little bit under that, but still over 7 ounces for a pocket knife. And so that might be the limit for some people out there. But the design itself appears to be fairly robust. They used robust materials in making this knife. So of course we have the big steel blade there. Take a look at the liners. So this is a liner lock, and we have fairly early lockup, so for good or for bad. The liners are all steel. It is a completely open flow-through design. And the pocket clip right here, it looks like a sculpted pocket clip. It's going to be right-hand carry only, and it is tip up. So there's no way to switch it over to the left-hand side, unfortunately, so just be aware. But we can see it's nice and deep and beefy and has a lot of room for pocket space right there. So it shouldn't be too much trouble to get it in and out of your pants. The action on the knife is actually really good as well because it uses bearings. So it just flicks right out with this thumb disc. And it's, essentially a drop shut action because it is running on bearings, and it's a nice heavy blade. So check that out, very nice. But let's look at the dimensions of this particular knife. So let's just hold it up to the ruler right here. So the blade length comes in from tip to scale about 4 inches overall. So let me move that up a little bit so you can see it better. So from the edge of the handle to the tip of the blade, we're looking at about 4 inches overall. So the cutting edge is slightly less than that. It's listed as 3.74 ounces, or not ounces, inches. And the overall length is coming in at about, judging by this right here, about 9.25, 9.5 inches long. So it is a fairly good sized knife. And I did want to make some comparisons between this knife and knives of its similar size that you might be interested in buying with this one here. Before I look at similar knives, though, I am going to make a quick comparison to my standby knife. If you've ever seen any of my videos, you know I pull out the Kershaw blur in almost every one. And so you can see pivot to pivot right there, the size difference. So the blur, of course, is a bit smaller in overall size and dimensions overall. but the blur, in my opinion, is a great size for everyday carry. So I like to throw it out in videos so you can see the difference. But a really direct comparison, I think, right here would be the cold steel counterpoint. And so this is the cold steel gun sight edition, and it's also a very similar shape as well. But you can see the overall size is actually very similar. You know, we are slightly reduced in dimensions of width and overall length, but it's still a very comparable style in that it's both, you know, a very dagger-like look to it. The weight of the gun sight is also going to be a little bit less because they're using the plastic Grivery handles as opposed to the micarta and steel liners. But it's still a very big, beefy knife. Good comparison for the Boker Plus Smatchet here. I also wanted to compare it to another 4-inch knife that is actually fairly popular. So this is the Spyderco Endura. And this comes in at way less weight. It's about half the weight of the Smatchet simply because we have the plastic handles here. But a 4-inch blade on both of these knives, and you can see side by side how that looks. One of the newer knives I've also picked up as well, we have the Kershaw Strata right here, and this is the regular size Strata with a 4.5-inch blade, but go ahead and take a look at that. And so in terms of blade length, the Strata is much longer, not much longer, but it's longer, but it's a very thin knife, very easy, low profile knife. So in terms of overall thickness and such, it's a very big difference there. But that being said, they took a really unique approach to this knife right here because the Boker Plus Pocket Smatchet comes in at around the $100 price point. So at that price point, it's kind of scratching towards higher end, but it's also dipping into the lower end. It's right in that middle point where most people are either going to be willing to buy it or they're going to bypass it completely. So let's talk materials here. The only thing that really disappoints me with this knife is we're looking at the steel liners. If you take a look inside, I don't know if you can see it on video, but there is no skeletonization on the scale side right here on the show side, which would have helped reduce the weight. Because with this knife coming in at over 7 ounces, it's a heavyweight knife. It definitely is. I honestly wish they could have just deleted the liner on this side entirely and just had it micarta. That would have been a significant weight savings because this is just a big chunk of steel on the liner side. So there is that, and that's a place where I think they could have improved on this model. Because of course I love the micarta. I think it would have definitely been robust enough to be the only material on the show side, and that probably would have shaved an easy ounce off of the weight of the knife. So that would have been an improvement. But beyond that, they got the execution of everything really well done. You know, everything is steel, the liners are steel, the pocket clip is steel. Even though it's this sculpted look, it is a steel pocket clip. So without any titanium, they were able to keep the costs down relatively. So even though we have a really nice presentation, a really nice style, 4-inch stonewash VG10 blade steel, we have the micarta handles as well as wood variants. And some of the models do have blacked out blades as well. They were able to get this right at the price point where I think a lot of people are going to be willing to bite. That being said, though, BladeHQ has had this available for about a week and it hasn't sold out or anything, so I'm sure they have plenty of them in stock if this particular style of blade is of interest to you. So even if it's not really of any interest to carry, I think the historical nature of the Smatchet and the mythos that kind of go with that kind of makes this a nice little curio purchase. So even if you don't intend to carry it, if you don't intend to use it, I think the Boker Plus Pocket Smatchet still has a really unique place in most collections because it looks so distinct. So when a person who knows what a Smatchet is sees this at a distance, there's no mistaking for what it is. It is very obvious with this wide leaf-shaped dagger blade. This is inspired by the World War II Smatchet knives that were carried and used throughout that conflict. So really cool to see a pocket version of this. And if you wanted to carry this every day, you know, you definitely could, and it would be a serviceable knife with no issues. And that's kind of where I'm at with it right now. I love the action and the look of the knife, and it's definitely going to be a really neat part of my collection. But that being said, I don't know if I'm going to carry it necessarily too much. So I really wanted to share this with everybody and give you my first impressions of the knife, because overall I am impressed. There are a few places that they could have improved and made this knife a little bit better, But then again, that might have driven up the cost. It's not even the blade steel. It's more for me the lack of titanium and the heavy weight, you know, because most people aren't going to carry a knife that's, you know, 5, 6, 7+ ounces when there are so many great alternatives out there that come in at, you know, 4, 3, 2 ounces out there. So let me know what you think. Do you like the Boker Plus Pocket Smatchet right here? Tell me what you think about it. I love the design, but maybe it's not going to be for everybody. So I would love to see in the comments below what you think of this knife. And of course, if you have any other comments too, feel free to mention them. But have a nice day, everybody. Thanks for visiting the channel, and hope you enjoyed watching. Bye-bye.